Beyond the Mat, where we discuss the lives of people before or after they get off of the mat. Don't forget to check out episode 13, which is now out on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Today we're joined by one of my friends, Logan Lindy. He is a medical device sales rep and a devout Christian man. So welcome to the show today, Logan. I really appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, bud. I appreciate it.
So tell me about the journey to gymnastics.
Oh man, that's a hard question. So when I was 4, my mom put me in different sports when I was little. She put me in basketball, baseball, soccer, and then pretty much I was always flipping around the house essentially. And then one time I was doing a flip on my bed and I clipped my chin. And then she put me in gymnastics like literally a week after. And so when I was doing other sports, I was doing handstands and like round offs like during practice and like actual games and I pretty much just turned my attention to gymnastics at a young age, and then I was doing gymnastics since college, essentially.
When I first met you, you had the frame of a guy who was a gymnast. So even before I looked at your Instagram, had a conversation with you, I'm like, this dude is a gymnast.
Yeah.
And then rolling with you, you have the strength of a gymnast.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it's, gymnasts and wrestlers, I guess, have kind of that same build in a sense, but gymnasts, I feel like you can really tell when someone's a gymnast because they just have this really large back, and they have like, really defined arms, and it's kind of easy to kind of like, and they're short too. Mm-hmm. Like when you're 5 foot nothing like myself, it's like, oh yeah, you're a gymnast, dude. Like,
well, I can tell by the shoulders as well, for sure.
Yeah.
So with your college career with gymnastics, tell me about the hope and the change of going to Oklahoma to gymnastics.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, gymnastics in college for men at least, there's not many, like chances to go. When I was in high school, there was only 10 schools in the nation that had Division I men's gymnastics. And I was trying to work really hard and trying to get, just trying to get it out there, as best as I can. I was, sending videos to coaches and colleges, and, it was definitely a process for sure. And then I had the opportunity to walk on to the University of Oklahoma, and that was an experience. That was something I'll never forget ever. I mean, just how dedicated those Division I athletes are and how hard I worked. Like, I will never forget that. And then I did that for I did it for half a semester because my family was kind of going through some things, and it was a really hard decision to make, and I decided to come back, just to kind of be with my family. I really liked it up there. Mm-hmm. I loved that opportunity to work with that squad. But I felt like God was calling me back home, so I decided to come back home. But I was still training. I was still training elite. I was still doing elite gymnastics, which is like you're still training for gymnastics. You're just not with the school. You're just with your club team, if that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then I did that for a couple years, and then I decided to turn my attention to ASU gymnastics, which is club gymnastics. So just as long as you were taking college courses, you were able to compete with them. So that's what I did for 4 years.
So you didn't have to enroll in ASU?
No.
As long as you were in college somewhere?
Yeah, which is kind of what like half of our guys on our team. We had half of them that went to ASU and they were competing for ASU, and then we had like another half that were doing like Mesa and Chandler and Scottsdale Community College. So it was pretty kind of split.
So I'm a Christian man.
Yeah.
Where did your devotion to Christ, how did that start? Definitely want to know about that.
Yeah. So when I was little, my mom was a Catholic, and she never really, she never dragged us to Catholic mass, just because with her and her family when she was growing up, she had to do like all the Catholic things, like go to Sunday mass and go to mass like throughout the week. So she didn't want that on me and my brother. And so my journey to being a Christian kind of started when I was with my brother. My brother would take me to church with him, and then he took me to Wildlife and Young Life, which is kind of where like it really started. I kind of like a younger age, so I was like really blessed to be, kind of start that journey as a younger man. But it really, like, that Christianity aspect of my life, like that really enhanced like when I was in high school. So
Do you find yourself being able to work through things a lot easier or with comfort, knowing that you have the backing of God or your Christian faith?
yeah, so I think it's probably the strongest pillar in my life for sure. And especially a lot of the setbacks I've had, especially being a gymnast. I've had 5 surgeries throughout my gym career, and every time I was always leaning on that like Christianity, like stronghold, and just always reminding myself, like you will be fine. God will take care of you. And so going through that, like time and time again, I think that really helped me understand, kind of, just that aspect that whatever you're going through, it's where God wants you, number one. Number two is he won't put something in your life that he doesn't feel like you'll
Right.
be able to do.
Right.
So
I've had significant changes in my life as well. Grew up in the church, but once the family split apart, the ideas of life kind of changed.
right.
With parents splitting apart, of course, they become single parents at that time.
Yeah.
So kind of changed the approach or the opportunity to go to church.
Yeah.
And here I am, at 49, redevoting my life to Christ.
That's great.
I mentioned changes. Nothing changed until I started being obedient again. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
And I feel, Logan, the best I have in my life since I am being obedient and going by his word. So just wanted to hear your take on that.
Yeah.
But Mom, is she still with us?
Yeah, so my parents are still here. And kind of what you said going back, it's good to be obedient by yourself, but when you have a community of brothers around you, it makes life so much easier, and they give you perceptions and they give you like different angles to look at things, and it's something that you would have like never really thought about.
Right.
And so yeah, so my mom, she definitely helped me, kind of realize certain things, especially in my life and like in college when I was like going through all my surgeries and like setbacks and everything. Like she really kind of helped me kind of get me on the track, and there were times where like I would kind of steer away from the path, which is normal. It's a normal thing. She would kind of like revert me back, like, hey, like make sure, just make sure that you're reading scripture. Like, don't get in that slump, because once
Right.
you're in it, it's like really hard to get out of it.
I imagine Mom didn't have to remind you of that. I imagine you had that in the back of your mind anyway. Hey, I'm slipping and
Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, but there are times like during the path where like you do have like that little voice in your head, and it's you against you, like just, when you're rolling, and, it's always good to have, cause my mom's one of my best friends. And so it's always good to have like some family member, really close friend or brother, like, either like a brother in Christ, like verbally tell you, hey, make sure that you're either reading scripture or you're going to church, or make sure like you're doing all these things, to kind of get you back on the path.
Kind of like an accountability.
Yeah, exactly.
Partner.
Yeah, 1000%.
So with Christianity, I imagine that doesn't necessarily align with Jiu-Jitsu.
Not really. No, it's like you should treat others with respect. You're like, yeah, until on the mat.
Right,
Like,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, with congratulations on just receiving your purple belt.
Thank you very much.
I,
Man.
I was
appreciate
supposed to
that.
be there that day, but I was on call and I was
you're
just too
fine.
tired.
Yeah,
Wanted to be there to support you. So,
yeah. No,
congratulations.
thank you.
I'll have to get back over there and maybe test that purple belt out.
Yeah. Oh
but
man, you would, no, you would destroy me, man.
no, come on.
What are you talking
Come on,
about?
Logan. So, with gymnastics, you were very disciplined.
Yeah.
You mentioned even when you weren't going to a school, you were still training. That tenacity and that level of discipline,
Yeah.
do you find that translating over to jiu-jitsu?
Oh, of course, 1,000%. I mean, a lot of the skills and a lot of the skills that I learned in gymnastics about being disciplined and that really kind of shifted over to jiu-jitsu easily. But honestly, which I wanted your take on it, it's different because like in gymnastics, like it's you against yourself, you know, and I'm not sure if you're very familiar with it, but in gymnastics, it's you go out, you train, you compete, and essentially a judge is giving you a score. So whatever their perception of how you did your event, you know, to the best of your ability, they're going to give you a score. So essentially it's just you and you, like when you compete. But then in jiu-jitsu, it's your will against someone else. And so I think the hardest thing that I had to kind of like understand was, you know, it's not just me anymore. It's me against someone else.
Right.
You know, and I love that because I've never had something like that before.
Right.
You know.
Me either. I did a little boxing as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was a baseball player throughout, you know, my life until I got to a certain age. But just by having that background, I think it just helped me understand. Still didn't know what I was getting into, but I'll look at it like it's mental chess for me.
Yeah.
It's my great escape from the world.
Right.
I get a chance to go in, just like you said, it's you against you. So you go through that battle of not making a mistake. So that's how I think about that. But I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about meeting different people throughout the jiu-jitsu journey. What is that? How does that make you feel? First of all, to be able to meet so many like-minded people.
It's very different, and I'm very appreciative of it because, you know, when you're in a culture like gymnastics, you're just with other gymnasts. You know, they're your age. They're relatively like, you know, they're kind of on the same path that you are. You know, like everyone wants to try to get to, you know, either like a national team or, you know, a top 6 spot on lineup or, you know, Olympics, like if they're like that good. But then in jiu-jitsu, it's very humbling, and it's very like it opens my eyes a lot. You know, there's a lot of people that I meet at jiu-jitsu, like especially, you know, if it's in Arcadia or Scottsdale or Phoenix, you know, meeting different people, different ages, and just hearing their life experiences. It's very like, it's cool. Like it's cool to hear different stories, you know, and which like I've never been like a listener. Like when I was younger, like it was always, you know, oh, gymnast, great. Like, you know, let's get to practice. You know, boom, 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 done. But then in jiu-jitsu, it's, you know, it really makes you have to listen and really understand, you know, different, you know, inputs, outputs of, you know, during the role. Like, you know, it's, you know, if you're rolling and then all of a sudden, like they have a different like angle of how to look at things. And then that transfers over to just talking about life and really understanding what their viewpoint of life is, you know, and that to me is probably the greatest thing that I've noticed a lot, like between like the changes of the two.
That was the vision of me starting this podcast. And I tell anyone that this podcast is not about me. I have met so many amazing people through my journey of jiu-jitsu. Mike Kingray, he's the reason why I carry my uniform everywhere. I've trained in California, Hawaii, Texas.
Yeah.
And I'll be going back to Houston again right after we leave.
Right.
Just finished talking to a first degree black belt from GB
Okay.
over there. So we're going to hook up.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's kind of like it's kind of like going to a Starbucks when you get to a new city.
Yeah.
You look for the place that you can go and train if you have that kind of time.
Right.
And that's kind of how I am because of the different people that you can meet.
Right.
For instance, I don't know if you know who Alex Morono is, UFC guy.
No.
But he runs that school over there. And just to meet the people that he surrounds himself with in Hawaii, in California.
Right.
It's just a life, in my opinion, it's just a life-changing event when you can just sit down and someone is willing to share their story with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the most, like, to me, that was probably the biggest impact going over to jiu-jitsu, was because, like, in gymnastics, it was relatively the same kind of story with different people. But then when you look at jiu-jitsu, it's a different, it's a different story, different viewpoint of life, different walk of life. And all the things that you, like, for me at least, as, when I first stepped in, like, I think I started jiu-jitsu when I was like 28 or 27. But it was, being a younger man, and you can really listen and understand and pick up on things that people learned throughout their journey, not only jiu-jitsu, but just in life in general.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that, like, really helped me be an active listener and to, kind of hold fast and, really understand, like, where someone, like, is coming from,
Yeah, and the thing about that is, for us too, you have so many varying ages.
Yeah.
So you get a chance to see or listen to a variety of people.
Right.
Whether that be, a teen, an adult, or
Yeah.
a female athlete, or, just a parent.
Yeah.
Just talking.
Yeah.
I find that so fruitful. Coaching over at Peoria, I have so many great relationships with the kids that I coached.
Yeah.
And we're still friends now that I'm over in North Phoenix. So
Yeah.
that's a huge benefit
Yeah.
for us, in my opinion.
No, agreed. And a lot of I coached gymnastics before I got, the job I have right now. But when I coached gymnastics, I was, I love talking to the parents, and some of the parents, like the kids that I used to coach, like, I'm still friends with those parents.
Yep.
And so, especially with coaching, gymnastics coaching is way different, but in jiu-jitsu coaching, I feel like that bond is just like, it's there, because to me, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of life lessons in jiu-jitsu more than gymnastics. Again, it's different. It's very different. But I think, in my opinion, I wish I had the skills when, at that young age.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I say it all the time.
Yeah. Like, I wish I had the skills, and, when I look at kids doing jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I wish I would have done that. And I'm not knocking gymnastics. I learned everything that I did in gymnastics. I loved it, but there's just something about, like, learning ego death at a young age.
Yes.
And I think that's going to set them up for life. And, I look at coaches, I'm like, that is a cool thing that they're playing such a huge part
Yep.
in that development of that child.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And, Professor JoJo, he wants me to do the same thing at Phoenix. But I can't do it unless I have the right amount of time to do it. So
yeah, it's
still figuring things out,
Right.
regular life, the podcast, which I'm very passionate about, and the other things that I like to do.
yeah.
So, I just love it.
Yeah.
I just love being able to meet people and talk to people,
Right.
just like you. Tell me about do you see yourself competing this year
Yeah.
as a purple belt?
Yeah, I think so I had goals last year of trying to fight at least 2 tournaments every year. Like, when I was like a newbie fresh belt or newbie white belt, I was like, for every year I'll try to fight at 2 big ones. Then this year I kind of wanted to up the challenge a little bit, just because, I really want to I really want to turn the corner this year. That was kind of one of my goals for this year. So I think I might try to fight at 4 big ones. But at the same time though, I try to take a step back and really kind of look like my competitive life, competing in gymnastics, that took a lot out of me. Because I retired when I was like 26. So I've been competing for a long time, and I would like to compete more, but I've had a lot of miles on my body, so I think that's why I keep it relatively, between 2 or 4 fights. But I definitely would like to challenge myself this year for sure.
This is my milestone year. I will be 50 in August, and I made it a goal of mine to compete as much as I could this year, just to put myself to the test at this age.
Yeah.
Have a plan down, have a few tournaments that I'm gonna.
Do you think it's harder to compete like every year that you get older? Do you think?
I think for me it's been getting easier.
Okay.
I started Jiu-Jitsu when I was 46.
Okay.
Me going in and think, oh, this is a piece of cake. But having to start from the bottom and work my way up.
Yeah.
I feel like I have the skills as a, 30-year-old, mid-30, 30-year-old person. It's because I believe my mind is sharp. I have good reflexes. And, I know how to manipulate my size, so to speak.
Got you. So do you think so obviously when you compete, like your reflexes are there. I assume you work out because you're a pretty big guy.
I do not.
Get out of here.
The only thing I do is jiu-jitsu.
No way.
That's it.
Oh man, I wish I was like that. But for me at because I'm so disciplined, like I'll try to work out at least 4 times a week, and then I'll try to like go to class 3 to 4 times a week if I'm in town. But do you think that weight training like that, do you think that kind of translates over to jiu-jitsu a lot? Or
talking to Professor Narat, and he was explaining to me that you have to have this balance. You can't forget that you have a regular life outside of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Mainly it's just putting together a plan for me. I know my body. I'm beat up. I have bad knees, bad shoulder, spinal fusion. So I have to kind of monitor that.
Right.
But as far as working out, I do want to start back working out just to get myself ready for this grueling year that I planned for myself. Yeah. But I think it's going to be an extra benefit to me to be stronger in certain areas.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, when we've rolled, I was like, man, this is a big dude. I'm like, this guy can probably bench like 350 at least, he's a big guy.
I used to work out with 315.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think when I studied like exercise science in college, that to me was one of the big things, whereas like you want to, if you want to compete, you want to train the way that you compete, essentially. But I think for you, if you start to go back to gym, you will be an unstoppable force, my friend.
Yeah, I mentioned this is my milestone year.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I give myself the best possible chance to do good.
Yeah.
I mean, it always go back, you win and you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want to make sure that I do the very, very best I can to prepare myself for the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it's just like Professor Narat told me. You have to understand your body. You have to listen to your body. And you just have to put a plan in place. Yeah. And stick to that plan.
Right.
So that's where I'm at. I am so excited.
I'm excited for you.
We will probably see each other at some of these tournaments for sure.
For sure.
Logan, thank you so much for stopping in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure to sit down and talk to you outside of the mats.
Yeah.
I always thought that you were such a unique person that I wanted to get away from the mats to kind of listen to you and learn from you and bring your perspective in.
Thank you very much.
On top of that, I knew you were a Christian, man, so I definitely want to give you some time so we can fellowship in that way as well.
Absolutely. I would definitely love that for sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Logan. Thank you for watching this episode of Beyond the Mat podcast. Don't forget to check out episode number 12, which is out today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.